Let us continue with our lesson. And the previous lesson we have created a one entity for our app, which is of a task entity. And the next step is to work with the DAO. And if you go back to the documentation, so here it has mentioned that we need to create an interface for our DAO and annotate it with the DAO. And we need to write all of the queries, and also we need to annotate with the insert, right, and the delete. Also, we can write our own query using a query annotation. And this is an interface, and interface will have our function, which is an abstract function. It doesn't have any body, so this is just a signature for our function. And later, when we make use of the room database over here, we have to create an abstract function for this particular DAO. So the room database will implement and create a concrete class out of this interface. So our job is to just create a signature method over here in the interface, and now will be the room database will be responsible for handling and creating all of the concrete class, all of this. So let's go and create an interface DAO for us. So over here, let me create a new Kotlin and select the interface over here, and I'll just say as task DAO. So DAO, task DAO, then hit enter, and just let me add. And this is the interface, and the first thing that we'll do is annotate with the DAO over here. It comes with the Android X. Just import that one. So this is the DAO interface we have now, and now we can write our queries. So first of all, I'll write insert over here. insert insert, and I can create a suspend function because I want to make use with the coroutine. The suspend function insert, and what I want to insert is the entity. So I need to insert to this particular entity. So I will just say as a task entity, and this will return the row ID of the particular insert. So I can say this will return a long. So this return statement is from here entity, so it will return the ID. So the row ID, particularly, it will return the row ID from this insert method. So if you want to get at what was the current the previous current row ID that it got inserted, so you can get from here the return statement. We get a long as a return from here. And the next is we can make use of a update, right? So update, and let's write a suspend function of update, and what I want to update is a task entity, and optionally we can mention over here the return type is of a int. So if you want to get that how many row was affected by this particular update, then it will particularly return an integer value for you. Let's say you have just updated one record, so it will give return back as the one. And another one is we need a delete statement. So add delete. So this is another annotation from our room annotex room. And I write suspend function over here to delete. And what you want to delete is a task entity. And optionally, we can also mention it about the return type as int. So how many row was affected by this particular delete statement. And let's write our own query. The next step is we have to make use of an add query annotation over here. You can see room Android X room query. So not the retrofit, we have to make use of an Android X room query over here. So query, and what is the query that we want to make use is select. So SELECT, select everything from where you want to select is the task entity. Select everything from the task entity. So this will select everything from our entity table and give us the list. Let me arrange it properly. Suspend function, and I'll say as get all tasks. Right, so get all tasks from DB, and from DB, and over here we will have a return type of the list, and what we want to return is a tax entity from here. So this will return the list of tax from our database. So the query over here is select everything from the tax entity, and whenever we call this particular function, it should return us the list of the tax entity that we have in our database. And the next query we will write is a query, and let's write a select select. What we want to select is a maximum value from the tax ID, and from, let's say, from where we want to select is the tax entity. So this tax ID is basically the ID, this one. So we are maintaining a tax ID back from the response. So response, we are getting the ID of the particular tax, and whenever we insert to our local DB, we set it as a tax ID over here, and this tax ID we are getting the maximum value. So this is in an integer, so we can get a max value of this particular tax. So let's say we first downloaded a 10 tax from our server or the REST API, and we inserted it to our local database. And the next, whenever we want to fetch a record from the particular REST API, we don't want to fetch from the beginning, or we don't want to fetch all of the record that is in our remote database. We just want to fetch the latest record. So we have to make use of this tax ID and fetch only the latest. So let's say we have already inserted a 10, and the next could be from the 11. So we have to get the maximum, the tax ID that we have already in our local storage, and the next is we will get the latest from the remote server or from our API. So let's have a suspend function for this one too, and I'll say get max of the max tax ID. So get max of the tax ID, tax ID, and this should return particularly of a integer value. So I'll just say int question, the return type is a int. So I think that's the thing that we have. We have an insert, update, and delete, and we also have written our own queries to get the list of the tax, and also to get the maximum of the tax ID from our tax entity table. So this is the function that we have written over here. So this is the interface, and we have annotated with the DAO already. So we are good to go. And on the next, we have to make use of, we need to work with the database section that is mentioned over here. So let's meet up in the next lecture. Till then, have a great day.